Laura Ingalls Wilder was born February 7, 1867. Most of Laura's childhood was spent traveling west in a covered wagon. Pioneers like Laura and her family moved so often because they were looking for better life situations, better land, more money, and better housing.
As an adult, Laura and her family settled in Mansfield, Missouri, where she wrote 9 books about her struggles and joyful moments while growing up. Laura did not intend to write a whole series of books describing her life as a pioneer, but after the first book was published and became popular, her daughter Rose encouraged her to write the series. This causes the first 2 books to overlap a little in the timeline.
In 1860, Laura's parents, Charles and Caroline, are married. In Laura's book, she calls her father Pa. She describes him as a hardworking, quintessential pioneer who moved around the Midwest looking for the best for his family. Laura called her mother Ma, who she describes as a gentle and hardworking woman who struggled to raise her and her sisters as young ladies in the wild environment.
In 1865, Mary, Laura's older sister, was born. At the age of 14, Mary had a severe case of the measles, which caused her to have a stroke, leaving her blind. Laura became Mary's eyes, describing everything she saw for her.
Laura was born in Pepin, Wisconsin on February 7, 1867. During this time period, the 14th Amendment was also passed, giving African American citizenship.
In 1869, Laura's family moved by covered wagon to Kansas and built a small log cabin on the prairie. They were unaware that they had settled on Osage Indian territory. In Laura's book describing this time, she was a small child. However, she was actually 2 years old when her family moved to Kansas. So most of this book is based on stories her parents told her while growing up. While living here, Carrie Ingalls, Laura's little sister, is born in 1870.
The Laura Ingalls Wilder Foundation has built a replica of what they believe the family's log cabin looked like on the homestead property. Today, visitors can see the well on the homestead that Laura describes her father digging in the book.
In May 1871, the Ingalls family was forced out of Kansas by troops, so they moved back to the little house in the big woods in Pepin, Wisconsin. Laura went to school for the first time.
The third book in Laura's series is called Farmer Boy. This book is about her husband, Almanzo Wilder, and his childhood growing up on a farm in New York.
In 1874, Laura's family moved to Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Pa described it as the land of milk and honey. When first moved to the banks of Plum Creek, Minnesota, Pa built the family a dugout because he did not have enough money to buy them a house. In this book, Laura describes the plague of grasshoppers, which destroyed the wheat crops, ultimately ruining her family's chances of becoming wealthy while living here.
There was a TV show based on Laura's books which aired from 1974 to 1982. The TV series was filmed in Walnut Grove, where her book On the Banks of Plum Creek took place. The children across the country followed Laura's tragedies and triumphs, watching as actress Melissa Gilbert grew up on the screen. In 1875, Ma gave birth to a baby boy named Freddie. In 1876, while traveling, Freddie died due to dehydration.
In 1876, after Freddie's death and a failed crop, Pa was offered a job helping manage a hotel in Burr Oaks, Iowa, so he packed up his family and moved again. Pa runs Master's Hotel, and Laura and Carrie babysat the owner's kids. The family did not like living here and dreamed of moving back to Minnesota.
In 1877, Grace Ingalls, Laura's youngest sister, is born in Burr Oaks.
In 1870, Pa was offered a job working for the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. He worked all summer long, working westward through the Dakota Territory. Ma and the girls stayed in Walnut Grove and then moved to a few railroad camps with Pa. This was the family's first time traveling by train instead of covered wagon, and they were very excited about this new form of transportation. Then, the whole family moved to De Smet, South Dakota, and stayed at a surveyor's house during the winter months.
In 1880, Paul files for a homestead claim near Silver Lake in Dakota. The train stopped for months and the town nearly died of starvation due to the lack of provisions. The family survives on stale bread and potatoes and burns twisted hay for warmth.
Little Town on the Prairie is one of the most carefree of the Little House books. The long winter is over, the town of De Smet is growing, and for the first time, Laura, now 14, has a social life.
In 1882, Laura receives her first teaching certificate and teaches at the Brewster School. Almanzo takes Laura to and from school and brings her home for weekend visits. Laura thought it was just a favor for Pa, but they end up falling in love.
In 1885, Laura marries Almanzo. In 1886, their daughter Rose Wilder was born. Laura stops teaching to take care of Rose and help Almanzo work the farm.
In 1888, Laura and Almanzo catch diphtheria. Rose lives with her grandparents until they are better. Diphtheria leaves Almanzo partially paralyzed in one of his legs, but is able to walk with a cane. In 1889, Laura and Almanzo have an unnamed son who dies when he's only 12 days old. In that same year, the Wilder house burns down because a kitchen stove fire gets out of control. Only Laura's silverware, which was her wedding present from Almanzo, survives the fire.
In 1894, Laura and Almanzo purchased land in Missouri, and in 1913, Rocky Ridge Farmhouse is complete.
In 1932, Laura, age 65's first book, Little House in the Big Woods, is published. Later on, in 1949, Almanzo dies.
In 1957, Laura dies at the age of 90. Her daughter finishes and publishes the final book in Laura's series. Laura said about her books, "I wanted children now to understand more about the beginning of things, to know what is behind the things they see, what it is that made America as they know it."